Vice Chairman is out. Alderman committee meetings. We're going to go and get it moving forward because we got an hour, and Senator Hickman's got another committee. He's got to be on at 3 o'clock. So he asked we start the voting first. Senator Hickman, if you open us word of prayer, please.
Lord God, thank you for this day. Heavenly Father, you've given us another day of fresh air. Lord, we just ask you to continue giving us the wisdom. Lord, that we do everything to honor you. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Miller. Let's go with the House Bill 263. Representative Scoggins, please.
Thank you, sir. Committee members, this is House Bill 263, LC 43244S. This is a probate judge's retirement bill, and as I mentioned earlier, if you were at the hearing of that, this bill only does one thing. It changes the current mortality table to a more relevant retirement mortality table.
Let me make sure we're on 432244S. You said substitute?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. And the bill only does one thing. It just, as I mentioned, it creates a more current mortality table for determining benefits for survivors of retired probate judges. It's the only thing the bill does. The mortality table they're using is from 1951, and we wanted to bring it up to date with a more current mortality table.
All right. I know we've heard this thing and talked about this thing. Is anybody here that wants to talk about the bill? Anybody signed up? I don't have a sign-up sheet up here or anything.
Nobody's on these.
Nobody on the sign-up sheet. Okay. Make sure I get this right here. Well, we look right here. We got a quorum here. What's the will of the committee on this bill here regarding House Bill 263? Got a do pass motion? Second. Senator Harrell. All those in favor? Raise your hand. Motion carried, sir.
Thank you.
Good looking rules. Who's going to carry it for you?
Senator Hickman.
Senator Hickman?
Yes, sir.
That's a good choice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chuck, you want to do this, you're welcome to.
Sure I can. I was tied up on another meeting.
We'll get you back up here.
And then about to be a meeting on 1013 up there, and it looks like they might need a few forms.
They're going to need a few hearings.
Okay, let me catch my breath here. Sorry for being late. So far, Representative Scoggins is the only bill
Only bill. We did the voting.
we've done.
Senator Hickman's got to leave, and we're going to do the other voting, if you don't mind. Oh, you're your chairman.
Yeah, we're both going to be leaving. Which one are you wanting to do?
I think it's one more voting bill.
Okay. All right, Representative Hill, if you want to come forward here. I think your mics are on, so you can go ahead and
all right.
make sure we're working off of, I've got here LC 432213. Is that what you've got?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Chairman, committee members. I have with me Morgan Wurst with the Firefighters Pension Fund to explain all the heavy details. Thank you, sir, for being with us. But this is a bill that's it's not a physical one. The state would not bear any additional physical burden, and it just allows the firefighters' pension to raise it from 10% to 5 more percent. They've done a good job. They've got a good past history, and any questions? That's all it does. It just lets them go from 10 to 15.
And I remember when several of these, we went from 0 to 5 and 5 to 10.
Yeah,
and,
you're right.
Historically, they're a better yield over decades. If you're an old person like me, you might not want to do it on your personal stuff because you may not recover it. You might have a bad year or two on it. But overall, I think this is a good plan myself. So with that, I'll entertain a motion. All right. Is there a second? Second. Any other discussion by the committee? If not, all in favor say aye. All right.
And Senator Mullis will be carrying it.
All right, well,
Thank you, sir.
all right.
Thanks for the.
Does he want to do some other bill?
I think the rest of them here is Chuck.
Okay,
We did that one, and you just did that one.
okay.
So now it's just the hearings.
All right, we've got, I think I'll bring up, Representative Taylor next if she's here.
Not here yet.
Not here yet, okay. Yeah. Okay, Representative Cantrell. My understanding right now, this is a hearing only. so-
Yeah, that's what I understand. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Committee members, I'm bringing you House Bill 824. It's LC 432313S. When I got elected 8 years ago, I was surprised at some of the financial arrangements that we had as far as compensation and retirement. And so I made a commitment that my last year, I'm not coming back, I'm limited myself to 4 terms, that my last term, I would attempt to address some of these matters. And so this is one of them. And so I bring you House Bill 824. This bill addresses the fact that we've overfunded the legislative retirement system for over 20 years. In the current system, there's a disparity between our contribution, which is tied to a percentage of our salary, and our benefit, which is fixed. In other words, our contribution continues to go up, but the benefit remains the same. This bill would convert us to a fixed contribution with a fixed benefit. If we do nothing, our contribution next year will go to $158 a month, while our benefit would remain at $36 per month per year served. Under this bill, our contribution would go to a fixed rate of $165 a month with a fixed benefit of $50 per month per year served. It's a very modest proposal. The presiding officer, who is the Speaker of the House, would contribute 5 times as much in order to receive 5 times the benefit. So it's a proportional setup for him because his job is full-time. The bill would take effect.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Go ahead.
You good? The bill would take effect on July 1, but everyone who's serving as of January 1 of this year would be eligible for this. There's no cost to the taxpayers of the state. It's funded by our dollars, our retirement dollars. There's no additional contribution from our employer, the state. So we currently are overfunding at about 128%. If we enact this bill, we'll overfund at about 123%. So we'll still be overfunding. Basically, we're on this trajectory. We'd see a little blip in it, and then it would go at a very similar trajectory forward. It's a modest proposal that ensures the long-term success of the LRS, while at the same time providing more equitable formula and return to retirees. So that's the bill. I gave you a little handout that gives you the what the numbers actually look like from our budget office, if you wanted to kind of see what those the actual dollars, how they look now versus how they would look under HB 824.
Mike 5.
Number 5, yes. Just 2 quick questions. Thank you for bringing this. First of all, I think I heard you say that even the LRS has not had any cost of living increases.
No, sir, it has not.
So it's
Over
just
20
like-
years.
In 20 years, just like the employee retirement system has not had in about 12 or 13 years.
Correct.
So, second, on your handout like this,
Mhm.
it has down here presiding officer 6 years. Has the speaker been 6 years or more than 6 years?
He's been more than 6 years.
Yeah. So what would it be for him right here?
Oh gosh, I don't know how many years he's been the speaker, but you just have to do the math on that. He's contributing 5 times. He would be contributing 5 times the amount with 5 times the benefit, and that would be per month per year of service. So I think he's been speaker 10 years or 12. I don't know.
Yeah.
12, is that right?
Well, I would just, yeah, and I'm a big fan of his.
I'm disappointed that that's not part of the test y'all have to take to be in the House of Representatives.
Well, I feel a little more comfortable in front of the Senate committee not knowing the answer to that question.
yeah, because I don't think we're obligated to know.
Yeah,
He's leaving.
obviously, I
Yeah.
got less than 2 weeks, so I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
Mike, oh,
Well, I can do the math on it right now.
Mike 1, is that Mike 1's pressed for some reason? That's no problem. Okay. While he's pulling that number up for Senator Hickman, I appreciate everybody's patience. I had 2 committee meetings in the House. I apologize for my tardiness.
His benefit would be $3,000 a month. Mm.
And what's his current benefit?
It's currently $36 per month per year served. So 12 times that would be
12 times 36. So we're talking about a little less than, well, around 400,
432.
432.
So it is a significant increase, but I think the idea is that he's a full-time employee. He's getting paid his retirement at the same rate as those of us that are part-time. And this bumps him up proportionally. He would have to give 5 times more to receive 5 times more.
And I guess, and I believe it matters when we talk about legislation like this, and I don't think I missed it in the testimony, but what is the purpose of this legislation?
It's to get a more equitable equitable retirement fund. It hasn't been changed in over 20 years, and currently we have a floating contribution with a fixed benefit. And so this would take us to a fixed contribution and a fixed benefit. So it would be more proportional. Right now, our contribution keeps going up while our benefit stays the same.
Could you attribute this to something? I know Chairman Huffsteller had a bill over there that we had a COLA in for employees, and it wasn't a COLA that was going to have to be funded or anything like that immediately. It just put processes in that if the economy went a certain way, which not the way it's going right now, and other positive bellwether events were to occur, that we would be able to do something like that. Do you feel that by removing that opportunity from state employees, the men and women that do the job, and then stepping forward with legislation like this, which I do not necessarily disagree with. I want you to understand my intent. I'm just trying to get some clarity on this, that it may make us look like we are somewhat greedy while our state employees continue to suffer, those who have not received COLAs in many years.
I agree that that's a problem, but I don't think that we should neglect one because we haven't been able to do the other necessarily. But it's very modest. You're looking at $36 to $50. Our contribution is going to go up $7 a month over what it would already go up to based upon the $5,000 raise for state employees. That's what that number's based on, is after that $5,000 raise.
And look, and I know your heart and optics don't matter to you any more than they matter to me. What matters to us is intent, character, and ethic, and I appreciate that.
There's no cost to the taxpayers.
Right, but I'm just a little concerned that we do for one while not doing for the others, especially when the one we do for is us. So
yeah, I agree.
It's
one of the problems I've had since I've been down here is the way we handle all of our compensation things. Is that we put ourselves in a bind, then we have to give a massive raise, and people squawk about it. And well, they haven't had a raise in 15 years, so we're making up. So I'm in favor of us doing as much as we can to formalize these things so that people get fair pay for fair work.
I agree, and try to make them as little. Make them as tamper-proof as possible from the 180 and the 56.
Agree.
I would agree. Anyone else have any questions related to the? Yes, the smart guy on the committee.
Thank you for being here. And to reiterate his point, I don't think there's a fairness here if we say there's a possibility of a COLA for our current employees, something that we'd all worked on with the IRS and administration, and then it comes to the House and they take away the possibility of a COLA, but yet here we're doing the opposite. So I think that's sort of a problem for some of us over here.
I agree. The
that
optics
feel
are,
that.
but
It's not just the optics. It's more than optics. We're saying you're not going to get a COLA, but we are.
but our COLA comes from our own money in this case. It's not a COLA, but the change in retirement comes out of our own dollars. It doesn't come out of taxpayer funds.
Well,
Whereas a COLA would.
I'd like some questions for Jim on that point, I
Okay.
guess, after this. The other thing is, I'm not real good with this bill because I haven't gone through every detail, but on the part where you were talking about the speaker, is it based on his number of years in the House or his number of years as speaker?
As speaker.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious, Representative Cantrell, where did you come up with the formula for from the changes from, what is it, 30, is it 32 now?
36.
36, and you're
to
talking about going
50.
up to 50? Yeah.
It was just a modest proposal, trying to figure out what's makes it more fair but not exorbitant.
So you're just looking for a reasonable
Yeah, just a
increase.
reasonable bump and something that hasn't changed in over 20 years.
And what was the percentage increase there?
Well, from 36 to 50.
Okay, and then, and whatever that number
But your
might be.
percent, your contribution's going up from like 130 to 165.
Okay, and does the 130 to 165, does that percentage uptick, is it equal to the uptick for the speaker?
Correct. It's proportional.
It's proportional?
Yes.
Percentage-wise?
Mhm.
Okay, because he currently pays, what per month?
He pays the same as us.
He currently pays
The same.
36?
No, he pays
I'm sorry,
130 something, and,
Yeah.
and the benefit's 36 per month per year served.
Okay. So he's paying the same as we are paying,
That's correct.
but he will receive,
Now, under this bill, though, his contribution would go up 5 times,
that's right.
and his
So-
benefit would go up
So
5
why
times.
did our contribution not go up 5 times?
Because we're still only going to be making, the whatever it's going to be. I guess
Stunning
22. 22. He'll be making. I think his total's like 100.
Okay.
So 5 times. It's kind of proportional to the salary's 5 times as much. That was the
Yeah.
thinking, the logic behind it.
Because if this thing moves through and carries on and is passed, then these are talking points that we're going to be asked about 1,500 times.
Of course.
Within the first 3 months of leaving this chamber. So, are there any other questions from the committee? Yeah. Jim, could you come up and grab a seat? And Representative, you're fine right where you are.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hello again.
I like bringing old friends back together.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
That's what I do. Okay. Yeah.
Just a couple of questions. Just refresh me on currently who pays what into the system and who will be paying what with this bill change into this system.
So statutorily, the system is set up to be funded by employee and state or employer contributions. The employee contributions right now are 8.5% of your salaries, of which a portion of that is picked up by the state. But the point is that 8.5% of salary is the employee contribution. And the system is well enough funded at this point that we do not require any employer contributions. The employee contributions are currently sufficient to cover the benefits going forward.
So when it was 8.5%, what was the percentage employee and employer contribution?
Well, right now it's 0.
I know, but
employer.
what was it before? How
In
long
the
has it been
past?
0 then? And
It's been 0 for, I don't know, going on 8 or 10 years, and it was very modest before that. So there hasn't been a substantial employer contribution, I'd say, since before I was hired. So you're talking about the mid-aughts.
and then this is 135 per month. Is that what I'm seeing? Or
It's a little less than that. I calculated the upper 120s, and it will change to that fixed 165 that Representative Cantrell was talking about.
and what's the dollar amount right now that's going in? But from
From an employee,
yeah,
about 128, I think, is the
so we're
number.
going from 128 to maybe. So you're saying there's really not much change there.
Well,
at least in the
37.
short term.
$37 per month would be the increase in your contributions under this bill.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Yes.
But if I might, if we do nothing, it's going to go to 158 because of the $5,000 increase. Am I correct?
That sounds about right, yes.
So we're going to go up. Our contribution is going to go to 158. No, if we do nothing, it'll go to 165 if we adopt 824.
That sounds correct.
So explain why it's going to 158?
Because of the $5,000
Because your
increase,
salary is-
8.5% of that is the delta between what we're paying now and what we'll pay once that $5,000 raise goes into effect.
Okay.
Yeah, with the new $22,000 salary. Good job.
On the increase you're talking about, Chairman, right?
I'm done, yeah.
On the increase that's in this current budget.
Yes.
Correct.
And then what would happen if you went with this, that there were any increases in the future to the salary would not change the contribution or the benefit because they'd both be fixed at that point.
6. Jim, where are you at on this? I mean, give us your, I know you gave us the numbers. What's your feelings on this?
My biggest concern is making sure that the systems are adequately funded. As far as I can tell in the studies that I saw before and after this bill, there would still be no employer contribution requirement. So it really doesn't matter to me. It's a policy decision for you all.
And I do want to point out that we lean on Jim Kelly and others, Buster and their teams for advice, our friends over in audits, for their advice, and never do we want to put them in a position to where they take a side. I like Jim a lot, but I don't want to know what's going on inside of his head most of the time. If it's not numbers, it makes me a little nervous as a law enforcement officer. But again, he's invaluable. He and everybody I talked about are. When I put this, what number are you on, ma'am? 12. Yes, ma'am.
So the speaker is included, but not the lieutenant governor, because the lieutenant governor is a constitutional officer, so that's a different fund?
The lieutenant governor is in the ERS plan.
ERS.
He is.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you keep talking about the 5,000.
Are you on 11?
Yes, 11.
Yes, ma'am.
You talked about the $5,000, but I thought that was cut to like about 1,200. Is that not?
That's you.
It's done proportionally because constitutionally we could not give ourselves a raise retroactively. So we're getting a portion of it between now and July 1.
Okay.
And then on July 1, you'll get the full 5,000 over the next year of service.
Oh.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We can't back
Happy
up
day.
to January. Yeah, we can't back up to what July 1st. Yeah. 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 Congratulations. Welcome to the retirement committee.
Let's go eat.
That's where all the
Y'all can
nuggets
pay.
are.
Let's go eat.
Yeah. All right. I had this on here as a hearing, and I do want to point out that on the Senate side, the House side, it will continue having committee hearings on into the middle and toward the end of next week. Here in the Senate, our committees, everything must be out of committee Wednesday morning of next week. So I have this down for a hearing, but if there's anyone on the committee that has a will to do something other than that, I will hear that.
Mr. Chairman, I move to pass.
I have a motion do pass. Is there a second?
You did. It
Is there a
died.
second?
It died.
Um, Okay, so are you making a motion to table? Would you make that? What mic are you on?
Number 5.
Mic 5?
I didn't make a motion. Mr. Chairman, we will,
Make
I may-
the motion.
can I ask something first?
No, sir.
No. Okay, I make a motion table.
Have a motion table. Is there a second? Have a motion table and a second. The motion to table supersedes the preceding motion. So all in favor of the motion to table, please signify by raising your right hand. 1, 5. Those opposed? 1. Okay, so the motion, the bill is tabled to continue having a heartbeat.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it was on my bucket list to have one of my bills tabled by a Senate committee, so thank you.
Wes,
It hadn't happened yet, so
Representative, my job here is to make your life brighter.
thank you.
So
You've
I'm glad
succeeded
I'm gonna do
today.
that. Well, I will tell you my posture on this is that I'll be reaching out to you briefly. My goal is I'll be working with the Secretary of the Senate. We will attempt to have another retirement meeting before next Wednesday
Okay.
to give you an opportunity to come back after Senator Hickman and others who have opportunities to ask questions and drill a little deeper into this.
Fair enough.
Want to do that. Thank you for
Thank
what you do. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
And Jim, if you'll do me a favor, if you'll stay there, we're going to bring up.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Is this in our packet? Yeah. Representative Taylor. Excuse me, Chairwoman Taylor, if you'll. If the committee, if everyone remembers, this was HB 1288. It provided for the assignment of certain group term life insurance benefits to pay for funeral services. Chairwoman Taylor came before us at our last meeting and described the details of the bill. We gave everybody an opportunity to do their research, ask their questions. I had the opportunity to speak to several members over in the House about this. Had opportunity to talk to Jim and Kelly concerning concerns they had. And so what we'll look at today is any questions that anybody has. If you would please, let's get those out in the open, get them answered. And well, I'm going to start off a little unorthodox. Is going to start with Jim and ask him about any concerns he may have with this legislation.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I have a statement I'd like to make.
Yes, sir. Please.
I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak on the bill. The Employees Retirement System of Georgia, or ERSGA, is responsible for the administration of 10 retirement programs of the state, including 5 pension systems, 3 defined contribution savings plans, and 2 life insurance plans. And those are called Gitly, group term life insurances, is how we refer to them. We've administered the Gitly plans since their inception in the early 1960s. The 2 plans were closed to newly hired employees in 2009, and the number of members with Gitly has declined by nearly 40% in the past 12 years, from about 103,000 members to about 63,000 today. And eventually, they will go away. Life insurance benefits are now primarily provided to state employees through the Flexible Benefits Program. This benefit, which has been in place since before I was hired, so 2009 or earlier, is a traditional term life insurance benefit offered through MetLife. To be clear, my comments today do not pertain to the MetLife benefit. Gitly is unusual for a life insurance plan in that it is so closely aligned with a retirement system like ERS. The old Survivor Benefit Fund, from which the current Gitly plans originated, is a subset of the ERS fund itself. The original enabling statute for Gitly is Title 47, which is the Retirement and Pensions title, and Chapter 2, which is the ERS chapter. Language contained in Title 47 establishes the non-assignability of rights for retirement benefits. Recipients, retirees, and beneficiaries cannot direct that ERS directly pay a third party all or any portion of a benefit due to that retiree or beneficiary. This provision was put into place even before the creation of the Survivor Benefits Fund itself and has remained throughout the existence of the SBF and the Gitly plans. The only statutory exception is for criminal behavior. Non-assignability of retirement benefits is there for a very particular and simple reason: the protection of the members, retirees, and beneficiaries who are entitled to receive their benefits. It's a safeguard. Funeral homes are often in the position of being creditors to those for whom they provide their services. The problem is that the term creditors encompasses all manner of individuals and organizations with all manner of motivations. Any common business with an accounts receivable falls into this creditor's category. But so do, for example, lenders of last resort. I know people who have tried to do business with such organizations, and it either does not end well or at least causes a high degree of stress for the borrowers. The bill, HB 1288, is drafted with funeral homes specifically in mind to be the sole exception to the rules of Chapter 2. But let me ask, what happens when the next creditor raises a hand and asks to become an exception as well? Having said yes here, how do we justify saying no to the next one? Or are we trying to create a system where we just pick and choose who gets to be an exception? We can say that A, we will just limit this to funeral homes and no one else. Or B, we will limit it to Gitly and no other benefit. This is what HB 1288 is trying to do. We can also say C, we will limit any exceptions to legitimate or benevolent or customer-friendly businesses. So let's take those. First, let's say that we decide that we fully intend to limit it to funeral homes. And we, collectively, may be able to maintain our discipline in this intention while we are here. However, we do not control the actions of our successors. By making an exception, we are sending a signal. We are opening ourselves to future interpretation that exceptions are okay. Again, I ask, how do we justify elevating this business as an exception above others? Second, I know that Gitly has the word insurance in the name, but under state law, it is different from traditional insurance plans, including the state's MetLife benefit, which are governed under OCGA Title 33. Rather, Gitly is defined as a retirement benefit under Title 47. In this way, it is like all the other retirement benefits that ERSGA administers. If we create a crack in the non-assignability protections on Gitly, then we open the door to a future challenge on the assignability of other Title 47 retirement benefits. None of us can predict how a judge or a jury will rule in a court case. Intent and precedents are powerful concepts, and I have been here long enough to see decisions rendered based on those concepts that are contrary to what I think is in black and white on the pages of the official code of Georgia. To the third point, how are we to define a legitimate or mainstream or otherwise benign business? What may seem obvious to me will not be so for everyone. Legal businesses can, and sometimes do, have very high-pressure sales and collection tactics, and we know that retirees and the elderly are the most vulnerable groups to those tactics. I bet I'm not alone here in having close family members of retirement age who have fallen prey to various scammers and high-pressure pitches. If a collector knows that a retiree has potential access to a large sum of money like a Gitly, or a guaranteed monthly stream of income like a pension, what might they do or say to try to siphon or divert some of that for their own ends? I know that the scenarios that I propose are beyond the limited scope of HB 1288, but the lines that we try to draw are always drawn in pencil. They get smudged and blurry very quickly, and there are people out there right now who are working on ways to redraw or erase boundaries that already exist. Once a lock is removed, it becomes very difficult and ultimately impossible to keep the door shut, and when the door is open, they're in the house. Do we really want to open that door for two old plans that are closed and well on their way to shutting down completely? The mission of ERSGA states that we are to be the guardian of the state of Georgia's retirement plans, and by extension, our members, retirees, and beneficiaries. It is our job, our responsibility to pay the benefits that are due to those individuals, and not to facilitate specific transactions or assist creditors in their collection efforts. And it is my job to identify and manage risks to the system and the often vulnerable people who rely on the ERS. And it is in that spirit that I speak today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody have any questions for Jim? All right, Chairwoman, if you'd
Thank you.
like to respond.
I
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate the opportunity to be here today,
Absolutely.
and I appreciate the things that you've brought forward. I do look at this differently than the standard pension plan or the retirement plan income programs. And basically, this is a life benefit. And at the point when these benefits are going to be utilized, our employee or our retiree is deceased, those funds are going to be given to the beneficiary. And basically, that's who can determine. It's not the employee, it would be the beneficiary who is obligating themselves to pay for funeral services. And this is a way for them to be able to make sure that that employee, former employee, is actually getting their services paid for. It has become a problem. It is a growing problem, and we still have 63,000 people on the plan. It will continue to be a problem. I think our retirees have the right to know that they're going to be buried and that it will be paid for, and it's not going to be an open credit out there. This has nothing to do with anyone else coming in and trying to collect money out of somebody's monthly pension. This is a benefit that technically belongs to the beneficiary at the death of our employee or retiree, and they should have the right to be able to distribute it if that's the way it needs to be done, to pay for their services for their loved ones. So it is a little bit different. I understand it's a change to what's been going on, but by the same token, the funds are going to be payable. The beneficiary is the one that would have the right. It's technically their money at that point. And if they feel so, they don't have to, but if they feel like they want to do that, they need to be able to know that. And I think the people that provide the service need to know that they're going to be paid. It's nothing to help them collect money. This has nothing to do with a debt collection program. It's not to badger an employee or a retiree to go sign up and spend their money somewheres. It's nothing like that. This is obligating the plan to be able to do what the beneficiary, who is the recipient of those funds, to do. And it's to see that their loved one is taken care of properly in their final mission of being buried. I'll be happy to answer any questions. It is very, very narrowly written. It is only for these funeral services. It all has to be documented and notarized, and it's very limited in scope.
Microphone number 5.
Yes, ma'am. And I thank, ma'am, thank you for bringing it up. I think you answered my question with your last sentence, but I want to ask you a little bit more of that. Just to clarify, this is only for the group term life insurance part. It's not for the annuity or the amount of retirement a person will receive on a
No,
monthly
it
basis.
is the death benefit only.
It's just benefit only. And it would be an assignment of an amount, an assignment to funeral home expenses. It would not be that the beneficiary would take the money and then pay the funeral home. In this case, Jim, by being assigned, Jim would cut a check to the funeral home, and then the balance would then go to the beneficiary.
That is correct. That's exactly how it would work. And that is the way every insurance company, and I get this is a retirement type program, but it is still handled that way 99.9% of the way. That's how people get their funerals paid for, through an assignment of benefits.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jim, do we do an assignment of benefits through the MetLife plan?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, so this is just the older plan, and that number of 63,000, is that retirees?
About 20,000 actives, and the rest are retirees.
So 43 roughly?
Ish.
Yeah, okay, so 2/3 retired and the final third is still plugging away. Someone have further questions?
Phrase my question.
It's there's no wrong way to phrase a question.
Madam Chairman, what happens when people don't pay funerals homes right now? I mean, is it a civil matter? Do you take it up? I mean, please.
The funeral homes, and this has come up, we have several funeral directors in the House, but it's come to my attention through my local funeral homes. And what has happened, Southwestern State Hospital was in my community, and it shut down. We had a high number of people that retired. And what has happened, their grandparents still live there, or their mother and father do. So the family members live somewhere else. They come in, they make the arrangements for the funeral. They said, yes, we'll pay you, and then they don't. The funeral homes most of the time do not get paid. Somebody will come in, say yes, they sign the contract, and then they don't come back and pay when they get the benefit. That's basically what it is. They say, yes, I'll pay you, and then they don't.
Mr. Chairman, follow up. Is that a bad practice of the funeral homes, or is that something that I'm missing here? Because,
Well,
we don't bury you till you pay. I'm just,
right, no, I know, they don't. I mean, they bury the people, and they try to collect it, but when somebody has moved to New York or Wisconsin or who knows where, is it worth it to collect $5,000 to somebody that took the money and ran and is in Wisconsin or New York or wherever? A lot of what we found in our community, the children have moved out. They haven't stayed in some of our rural communities, and they're not there. They come in, they want the funeral, sign everything, and then the checks come in, and they just don't come back and pay. I'm not trying to protect just funeral homes, but it has become an issue when I have funeral homes that said, we're going to have to stop doing funerals for our retired folks because they're not coming back and paying. What do you do? That is the worst thing that we want to happen. Our retirees deserve to be treated fairly, and that should not be something. And the easy fix is to accept the assignment and make sure that these fees are paid. It's not a good situation to be in. Nobody wants to be in that situation. But again, it's a dignity to our retirees. They would have paid the bill.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. A follow-up, I guess, on the part where we were talking about a while ago about the preying on the elderly in regards to their somewhat diminished ability to know what they're doing right or wrong, or signing right or wrong. How can we how is that going to be protected them if they with these benefits?
Well, the retiree isn't usually the one. It's a family member. The beneficiary is who's getting that money. It's no longer the retiree. It's whoever they indicated. And technically, once it's the beneficiary, it is their money. It's their money. All we're trying to do, and if they choose to do it, they don't have to choose to sign the assignment. But if they choose to assign it, I don't understand why we wouldn't let them. That's how your loved one would handle it. They would sign an assignment, and then your insurance would pay those expenses and give you the other proceeds.
Okay, last question. I don't really know how to ask this. I'm just going, you have to help me through it. In probating a will or probating a death or whatever, you always get those in the notice if this person owes, if you're owed money by this person, from the probate judge. Would that be an assignment thing that they would be able to tag on the insurance to save it?
Life insurance is not part of probate. I don't believe it
No,
goes.
I know. I'm asking, could that be written though, where you could? Would that be something we could do to help it?
I don't
either.
know.
Maybe I'm not asking right, but you know what I'm talking about. When I say they have to pay their debts or whatever it is.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't. It would have had to be the retiree before they died. That's a whole different story, and I'm not approaching anything like that. This is just to settle their final arrangements.
Senator Hickman.
Yeah, just a statement. Life insurance passes outside of probate.
Yes, it does.
It's outside of probate. So it's not subject to creditors.
That's
like other stuff. It passes outside.
right.
But if I sign a portion of my life insurance to cover my funeral, the obligation to make sure that money is sent to the funeral home rests with the life insurance company, correct?
That's correct.
And then the balance would be sent to my wife or whoever my beneficiary was, what you're saying. And this is the traditional way that it's done in 99% of the cases. I think what makes this unusual is, to Jim's testimony, is that the fund, the ERS, the portion that it impacts is an extremely unique creature developed long before any of us were here. And so it makes that assignment and payment a little more tricky. And we're, again, cracking the door of a plan that has been around forever. But I am the chair of this committee. And we know, according to Mason's rules, when I get to vote. So, is there anyone else that would like to speak to the?
Let me just say one thing here, if I
Yes.
could. I guess my concern are, taking this fund and sort of using it as a debt collector. And I know you're saying you've got debt problems with getting this money, but I also worry about people getting oversold that it's so easy. Well, we'll get the money later, and maybe they oversell more than they need. I just don't think the state should be in the middle of this, I guess is what my concern is.
Okay, will of the committee? And this bill either needs to move or not today. The chairwoman has been patient, and she has been available, rushing around, and I think out of respect to her, we either need to fish or cut bait. Senator Hickman.
I make a motion we pass.
I have a motion to pass. Is there a second? I have a second from Senator Harrell. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 1. The bill moves on to rules.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
We're late.
780, Representative Leverett. And he was, do we have a quorum? 3 in the chair?
Need a quorum, we got 4 now. You don't have a quorum anymore.
Yeah, I'm not I can't count toward a quorum. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll make this a hearing, and we'll reschedule for a vote. Representative Leverett, it's your show.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate so much your bringing this back. And again, my apologies to you and other committee members for missing last week. I decided I'd try something new today. I would actually show up when summoned to appear. So this is House Bill 780. It deals with the statewide business court. There is currently 1 judge of that court. That was a court created by a constitutional amendment back in 2018. Judge Walt Davis is with us today in case the members of the committee have any questions for him. He was appointed in 2019. He actually sits in the Deal Center. So he actually, like the judges in that building, has statewide jurisdiction, although it's a trial court jurisdiction, not appellate jurisdiction, but he has jurisdiction statewide. He's assigned to the Court of Appeals. And so in most ways, he is like the judges of those appellate courts, except in his retirement. He's even assigned, he and his whole staff are administratively assigned to the Court of Appeals. So this bill is intended basically to fix that incongruity with respect to his retirement system. He would move out of judicial retirement, which is intended for Superior Court judges, and into the judicial branch of ERS, which is generally more for appellate court judges. There is, I believe, a fiscal note or a actuarial study rather that would says it will save cost ERS $15,000 and save JRS $8,000, so it's a net cost of $7,000 per year. There's only 1 judge of the court currently right now, and any judge that subsequently gets appointed, of course, wouldn't have to have that made up. They would just initiate whenever they begin work. So that's basically the purpose of the bill. The court handles very complex, intensely litigated business cases, and so part of this is about just attracting and retaining judges, because I would not be qualified as a practitioner from Elberton, Georgia, to sit on that court. It's got to be someone who comes from a large metro practice with very sophisticated interstate, who tries cases in the Delaware Court of Chancery and knows what that's like, and there just aren't a lot of those around. So it's making the retirement somewhat better, but it's intended to try to increase the attractiveness of taking that position to someone who would be eligible and qualified for it.
Very good. Any questions from the committee? Yes, you're on 7.
What's the age of retirement on this right here?
I believe the rule, let's see, I jotted that down somewhere. Retirement in JRS is at 60. It's 65 in ERS, so it actually does increase. But you start out at a little better percentage in the judicial part of ERS than you do in the JRS system. My understanding is you start at basically 2/3 in JRS, but it goes up in increments and can go up to 75%. In ERS, it's a little later, but you start out at 75%. And that's probably oversimplifying a little bit. I didn't completely understand all the person with the Department of Audits told me, but I tried to take good notes.
Yeah, that guy in the Department of Audits will try to confuse you occasionally. Is there any testimony from anybody on the bench?
Judge Davis is here today in the back row with me. We're like good Baptists. We try to take a seat in the back, but he's available if you have any questions about the court or its operations.
Well, I think because of the long debate that went through that process to get that court created, I think all of us were here and we remember that laborious effort. And so we're appreciative of the fact that we do have the business court and that we do have somebody with that skill set to handle those types of issues. But not seeing any concerns from ERS and the other members of the team, I will. This is a hearing. It has been concluded, and I'll be reaching back to you, Representative, and get you in here hopefully before the end of the week or possibly the very first of next week, so that we can have a vote on this.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Mr. Chairman.
you.
We
I appreciate you
that greatly.
And
Thank you,
this
members of the committee.
retirement meeting is adjourned.